Iowa wrestling fans should expect a very busy offseason for the Iowa Hawkeyes as they look to fill their 2025-2026 lineup with studs, much like they did last year. Now, if you look at the Iowa team on paper, what are the need weights? Well, they graduated national champion Stephen Buchanan, three-time All-American Ja'Cory Teamer, and four-time All-American Kyle Parko, all gone for graduation. So three huge needs there, and really if you look at the recruits coming in and you look at the wrestlers that are already on the Iowa roster, there's not help really coming at those weight classes in terms of the way Iowa wrestling needs help and what their standard is All-American national champions. They don't have that coming into their roster. They don't have that currently on their roster. So it's very obvious they have a plan to hit the portal. And now, as you look at the start to the offseason for Iowa, it's been a very good start, right? They already landed Nasir Bailey and Jordan Williams. Nasir was fourth place at 133 2 years ago. Jordan Williams, a national qualifier this year for Little Rock, both wrestlers from Little Rock. And Jordan really looked good at the end of the year, right? He beat Ethan Styles, who ended up placing sixth this year out of Oregon State. So they're getting two really high-quality wrestlers there, no doubt about it. And as you look at the need weights, it's 125. Joey Cruz didn't score real points at NCAAs. 141 didn't qualify. You lose 49, 57, and 97. So you got to fill those holes, and right away it feels like they got two upgrades, right? Nasir Bailey. Now the question with Nasir is, well, he's a 33-pounder, right? Well, there's flexibility there. One, does Nasir view himself that? Does Iowa view Nasir as a 33? Do they view him as a 41? If so, perfect fit. If not, if Nasir's like, no, I'm a 33, he has a redshirt available. He wrestled as a true freshman, and then he wrestled last year as a true sophomore. So he has a redshirt. So there is flexibility there. Although in this day and age, I think redshirting a ready-to-rock wrestler like Nasir, like we saw with Rocco Welsh, you're playing a risky game because there's nothing stopping any wrestler from saying, oh, I'm going to leave, right? And while we haven't seen that level of attrition out of Iowa necessarily, it's still a risk that exists within any school, right? So you figure they're bringing in Nasir not just to redshirt, but to wrestle because they still need to fill 141. Now, if there's a 41 that they land in the portal, that's a different discussion. But there doesn't look like a good option there at 141. So my guess is Nasir 141, Jordan 149, and then two of the five need weights are filled just like that. You look at 125. This is a weight where the portal is pretty strong, right? You've got Jory Volk, who is a stud for Wyoming, an All-American, and a guy with junior world success as well. You've got Dean Peterson, who beat Luke Lillodahl this year and pinned Richie Figueroa, last year's national champion. So his pedigree of elite wins is certainly strong. And of course, Dean was from Rutgers. And you have Spencer Moore. Now, Spencer Moore sounds like he's already made his decision where he's going, and it won't be Iowa. But the two highest quality guys there, Dean and Jory, are available, right? And for Iowa, it feels like both would do a good job filling the need. And I could see it being Dean just by the fact that, hey, Luke Lillodahl is maybe the guy to beat along with Vince Robinson next year, and you've got a guy that beat him, right? But with Jory, there's great pedigree there. So they have an option at 125 and 141, 149. Now you look at 157. What is Iowa maybe thinking? Now, there's not a ton of portal options there necessarily. Chittum's there, but Chittum, it sounds like he's going to Ohio State, and they've already done the Chittum thing, and Chittum already left. So I don't see him coming back to Iowa. So they don't have a great option there. Now you look at Iowa fans maybe say, well, what about Miguel Estrada? Miguel is interesting in that last year he wrestled a lot of matches. He got a lot of opportunities, and this guy was competitive in every match. But in every bout, he wrestled Lachlan McNeil, he wrestled Antrell Taylor, he wrestled Trevor Chumbley, and he keeps you in the match, but he was not able to notch a quality win last year, right? All his he lost to really good guys, but he wasn't able to get over the hump there. So do you think that in a year, Miguel Estrada is ready to go from losing those matches to winning them? That's the question. And of course, he's going to develop and improve. Is he going to improve enough to meet that Iowa standard of a starter? I'm not as sure. Now, there have been theories thrown out. He's like, hey, maybe Caliendo, he's certified at 57. Maybe he cuts down at which sure, fine if you're playing the fantasy game, but if you're living in reality, Michael Caliendo I don't think you mess with that, right? This is a guy who is wrestling tremendously well at 165. I think the idea of moving him down a weight is sort of foolish, right? And the reason to move him down is what? Well, you've got a little bit of a logjam created by Gabe Arnold, because Kennedy just, balled out at NCAAs, finishing fourth. Literally could not have placed any higher, I think, on his best day. It's a great showing for Patrick Kennedy at 174. Caliendo was second, right? And then at 184, Angelo's coming in. Angelo's going to be the guy. So where does that leave Gabe Arnold? Well, potentially on the bench, right? That's a real risk now for Iowa, is that he may not have a starting spot. He doesn't have the frame, I think, to go up to 197. The only thing that could get him in is if Kennedy and Caliendo moved down and he slid in at 174, or if Angelo somehow hit a growth spurt and went up to 197. But that doesn't seem likely. I thought Angelo looked a little on the small side at 184. The idea he would be big enough for 197 seems a little far-fetched to me. So I think there just could be an issue with Gabe Arnold and where he fits this year. I don't think it makes sense to attempt to move Caliendo down when he's been, other than Stephen Buchanan, and really for the last 2 years, your most productive wrestler, most consistent guy every time out. He has only lost to national champions. Almost all his losses are to national champions. He has one loss to a non-national champion, and that's Carson Hartzler. Everyone else that's beaten him is a literal national champion. It's David Karts, Mitchell Messenbring, Keegan O'Toole, Shane Griffith. That's basically the list of wrestlers who have beaten him. This guy is that good. So I don't think you mess with him. I think the portal is going to have some options there. Now, when you think about 197, maybe you're saying, hey, well, what about Harvey Luddington? And then you may be thinking for 125, what about Leo DeLuca? Well, let's talk about those two. I think one thing that's important to remember is Tom Brands, in his 20-some year coaching career, has wrestled one true freshman, has entered one true freshman at the conference tournament, and that was Spencer Lee. That's the only one, right? So that is the current barrier, the current standard for true freshmen he will wrestle that very first year. So do we think that Leo or Harvey Luddington are approaching that level of productivity? I do not. And I would guess that Coach Brands and company do not either. They will have good days. They will have productive years for the Iowa Hawkeyes. But are they ready year one to contribute on that level? I just don't think that's realistic. I just don't think that's likely. So I think those are guys that are going to come in. I think Leo and Harvey are good recruits, and they're going to come in and redshirt, and they'll be ready next year. And one thing that's cool is you get the 5 dates, and maybe they'll prove they're as ready as Angelo was last year. But I don't think that's likely to happen. So it's an interesting offseason, and for Coach Brands and company, they have a different sort of strategy, right? They've really been pretty selective with high school recruiting, knowing that when the portal opens up, and it makes a lot of sense when you have the ability to do what they can do in terms of pulling transfers in, because you can get a wrestler that is proven. With high school, you think they're going to be good. You presume they're going to be good based on high school wrestling results. With the transfer portal, you're able to pull in wrestlers that have proven college results. And that can give you a level of less guesswork and more of a proven commodity. And in today's day and age, it's smart. But it does make you it has to make you a little nervous heading into the offseason, really wondering, hey, do I have a 25? Who is my 41? What are we going to do at 197? But there's some good options in the portal at 197. Now, do they look at them is a question. They've got Christian Carroll's in the portal at 197. AJ Ferrari, do they re-enter the Ferrari sweepstakes? My guess is no. I don't think that's an option. I think that's probably a decision outside of Tom Brand's hands, even potentially. I think that's at the administrative leadership level for Iowa. They're like, hey, we're not going back down the AJ Ferrari road. But is it possible that AJ's year of good behavior and strong wrestling gives him that opportunity? Maybe. If you're asking for my guess right now, this is just my opinion. I think it's probably not likely that he would go there. And are there others? TJ Stewart's in the portal from Virginia Tech. He was an All-American last year at 184. Didn't qualify this year. Internally, it's felt like TJ maybe believes he's better off at 197, so that would be a potential need weight. But there's a lot of risk with TJ Stewart. Just looking at his results, a lot of winning, but a lot of losing too. And is he a consistent guy you can put out there? I don't know. So those are a few of the names that came to mind. Remy Cotton from Michigan State was a national qualifier as well at 197. But is that going to be the answer for Iowa? It's fun to think about. It's fun to speculate. And, I think over the course of the offseason, you've got a good list of talent in the transfer portal, but there's probably going to be a lot more. The portal closes May 2nd. So Iowa is going to be a team in contention. And don't get me wrong, they graduated a lot, but they have the third most returning team points right now with 61.5 returning points. Oklahoma State, for reference, Oklahoma State is returning 28 points, right? So they're only behind Penn State and Nebraska for returning team points, to my knowledge. So they're going to be right in the mix. They need a few key pieces, and they're going to be right in the top two contending argument. Now, are they going to be able to enter the Penn State strata? No. Penn State is already way, way too far ahead. It would take a lot of things to go wrong for Penn State for Iowa to be able to run them down. So anyways, exciting stuff. Excited to see what the Iowa Hawkeyes do. But there's no doubt they're going to be able to put a quality lineup on the mat. And remember, last year, Ja'Cory Teamer, he came late in the year. It wasn't in the summer. I felt like it was like in the fall. He just showed up at Iowa. So these things can take over the summer and beyond, but expect a really strong lineup once again for the Iowa Hawkeyes.